The following thoughts on Happy Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you.
Are you feeling classy today? Sit down, pour a glass of wine, and listen to Happy Hour.
You're tuned in to Happy Hour, an hour where Happy rants about something. Sit back and listen in. Happy Hour is on now. Happy Hour is on now.
What up? What is happening? This is Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line from the Riggs, Alley, and the Judge morning show on 103.7 KISS FM in Milwaukee, Riggs is live on Happy Hour. What's up, dude?
How you doing, sir? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great, man. Now, I don't know if you remember me. I'm 6'8", and I was at the morning show boot camp. We didn't get a chance to talk, but there was this bit that they had, one of the meetings, where you give out wacky bits, and yours were so filthy and uncensored. And that's when I'm like, damn, who is this dude? Do you remember that?
Which one was it?
I forget. It had to do with words that you find on Urban Dictionary, and these were some of the most filthiest things, and you had the whole room laughing, dude. I don't know if you remember that or not. Remember that?
No, that was the year before. Was it a sex position or a food at the state fair?
Yeah, it was that one. And you had the whole room laughing. This was in 2014, and there were acts involving, like, poop. And I'll never forget, dude, you had me dying laughing, man.
Oh, yeah. That was the Alabama Hot Pocket. You can look that up in the Urban Dictionary if you want to.
That's what it was, dude. I remember you had the whole room dying laughing. It was so funny.
We didn't win a prize for that one either. Nobody gave us a prize. I was pretty upset about that, but, whatever.
Did you see that at that thing, the person that won the prize, it was like something to do with like social media. It was like the most bland award ever. I was like, come on, the Alabama Hot Pocket is pretty intriguing.
No, I would think that something that evokes some emotion out of people in the room would have won, but no, it was somebody that used social media and they used all of the proper techniques to engage their audience, which I guess I understand, but come on.
So, how has everything been since you guys moved Wes McCain to Mix 99.1 and you guys added the Judge? How has everything been?
It's been all right. It's been a different change. Wes has been on KISS FM for 14 years, so it's been probably a bigger change for him than anyone else. So he's had to adjust to a new format and a new audience. But for us, we just kind of picked up and moved forward. Kind of with the same kind of show, but a little bit of a different take on things. I'm leading the show now, so it's a little bit more driven by me, and I'm kind of driving the ship. So it's a little more responsibility for me, a little more heavy lifting for me, but it's a challenge I'm totally willing to do. I think with Wes and I, we were both kind of driving the ship on one show, and they kind of figured having two captains or two quarterbacks, if you want, on the radio station, a little bit too much. So he switched over to the Mix and can kind of have his own show there, and I kind of lead the show on KISS. It's kind of a good move for both of us. It's just a change like any other job.
What's that like, though, when you go from having a backup that can help you maybe on days off or on days that you're not at your best, but now you have to bring it every single day? Do you feel more pressure as the host, or does that kind of motivate you?
We've got three people on the show, so if one of us is sick, it's not that big of an issue, but I kind of feel like if I'm a control freak, I have a lot of OCD, so I feel like if I'm not there, things all go to hell, but everything will be fine. I mean, I'm out for the next 3 days on a road trip going to a wedding, and I'm wondering how everything's going to sound. And I'm sure I'll wake up tomorrow morning and listen to the stream and make sure everything's going all right and check on it, just because I'm weird like that. But I think it's part me being obsessive and part me just wanting to win. So,
even though you might have some obsessions over your show, what are some of the things that your team brings each and every day that makes it such a great and top-rated morning show?
Allie brings the Hollywood stuff to the table, so she's got a good finger on the pulse of, which asshat Kardashian is doing what. I think a new guy as Judge he's from Milwaukee, so he kind of breathes the culture, and he works with the local basketball team, the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm sure you're familiar with them. He works a lot with them, and he's lived in Milwaukee his whole life, so he brings a lot of kind of the pulse of the city of what's going on, and I kind of keep things going with the random and the oddity type stories, all the weirdos that live in Florida, the news that comes out of there. You guys are weird in Florida, by the way. You have the weirdest news stories in Florida. The dregs of the earth are from there, but it makes for great entertainment in the rest of the country.
Dude, I have the weirdest neighbor. My next-door neighbor is a sex offender who had kiddie porn, but that's half the weird part. The other weird part is he has his own mixer in his living room, and he plays such awful techno music in the afternoon that he makes David Guetta sound like Beethoven, Riggs. He is one of the weirdest dudes of all time. There is something weird about Florida. I don't know what it is, because I'm from the Midwest, obviously with my accent, you can tell. And it's one of those things where,
Sure.
I don't know. It's not like they're not normal here, but there's so many transplants in this area that it just kind of explodes. Do you know what I mean? Do you kind of see that when you go on like the Smoking Gun or whatever prep site and just see the latest going on with Florida?
Fark.com, F-A-R-K, has its own Florida news section because it's that ridiculous. So, congratulations, Florida. You guys are weird.
Have you ever been to Florida?
I worked in Gainesville, Florida for 363 days, just shy of a year. It was a top 40 radio station. I worked for a local independent owner, and it was terrible. I'm glad I don't work there anymore.
Was that where you got your foot in the door in radio?
I started my radio career in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah.
For MS Communications. I had an internship there and got a full-time job in Lafayette, Indiana. Then went to Chattanooga, Tennessee for some time, and I went to Gainesville, Florida, back to Indianapolis, and then up to Milwaukee now for 5, almost going on 6 years.
And now, what are some of the best parts about Milwaukee as a radio market? How have they embraced you?
How has Milwaukee embraced me?
Yeah, as a host on the morning show.
I kind of just made them embrace me with my style and my sense of humor and my presence on social media and my presence out in the community and through events. I just kind of raised my hand and made myself known and shown that, hey, I'm an okay dude. You can listen to me on the radio. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or whatever. And I think using all of the available social medias, as annoying as they are and as plentiful as they are, using those to kind of plant myself into people's minds and into their eyes, and they kind of said, oh, this guy's all right. So I think it's kind of me making them embrace me, because I don't think people embrace radio hosts as they did in the past. In the past, it was radio DJs were everything, and people would crowd around the radio, and they had their favorite DJs, and there was kind of a mysterious behind it. Who is it behind the microphone? Now you can go to the guy's Facebook page and see what he looks like, and you can see that he's a 600-pound slob, or he's a weird-looking guy, or whatever. And with the social media, has helped, I think, radio a lot. Give it more of a personality than it has in the past.
Has it made it more hard to do radio since you have to keep up with the Periscopes and the Twitters and the Facebooks, or does it make it more fun since you always have to compete with everybody else in radio?
I think it makes it more fun because you got to compete with everybody in radio. You're competing with so many different social platforms. It's exhausting at times because every time you're done getting on one platform, you remember there's another one you have to look at, and somebody's said something on Instagram. Okay, now somebody's doing something on Periscope. I should do something on Periscope. Okay, now somebody's on Twitter. I have to go over to Twitter. Wait, somebody's on my Facebook page. I have to go back over there. So it's draining on the mind and on the phone battery, but it's fun. It's a good challenge, I think.
How do you react to any hate that you might get online? Because I worked for Rover in Cleveland for about 4 months back in the winter, and those fans are so diehard, Riggs, and they are so passionate that they will either love you or they will either hate you. So I saw both of it. So how are you given online via all the social media sites, and how do you deal with it?
How do I deal with hates or the haters?
Yeah.
I embrace it. I love people that don't like me because those people listen to me more than the people that are saying horrible things about me and they're telling their friends how much I suck or how much they don't like me. I embrace it because it's just drawing more attention to me. So the people that hate you are the people that listen more. You look like Howard Stern back in the day. If you've ever seen Private Parts, like the people that love him listen for 2 hours, but the people that hate him listen for 3.5, 4 hours because they want to see what he's going to say next, or they want to find something to complain about. So I love people that hate me. I kill them with kindness, and a lot of people that hate me have converted to fans. Somebody hates me on Facebook, I immediately send them a friend request and won't leave them alone until they block me or accept me as a friend. So, and if you were to hate me, I embrace it. I don't let it get through me. I've got pretty thick skin.
How awesome is it when you're at events and people come up to you and they want a pic or a selfie? Because I get that sometimes since I work at the Bone and I'm on the air sometimes. How flattering is that? Because, dude, that never gets old when people say, oh, you made my day when you said this. Isn't it so awesome when you make a person's day?
That's the most rewarding thing about radio. When somebody comes up and says, hey, I heard you talking about this, so they'll bring up something that we were talking about or anything like that. Or when people recognize me in public, I've been walking through a restaurant and somebody will grab me and say, oh, are you Riggs from Kiss FM? Can I have a picture with you? It's kind of cool. It's flattering. It's nice for my ego, but it's good to know that what I'm doing is working and it's resonating with somebody. It's leaving an impact and making an impact on somebody's morning or somebody's life. If I can make somebody laugh in the morning and make them forget about going to work to their terrible job that they hate, and for that 8 or 10 minutes they're in the car with me, they're entertained, that makes me happy. That makes me happy when they come up and tell me that, too. I know that it works, and I'm not just talking to myself in a studio for 4 hours. There's people out there listening.
Now, what are some of the best parts about working at 103.7 Kiss FM?
The best parts about working at Kiss FM?
Yeah.
The people are good. I work with a good team of people. I enjoy the fact that it's, a radio station that's been around for a while, so everybody knows it, the market. People know what Kiss FM is. There's other stations that are trying to compete with us that people don't even know about or don't even care about because we're the first ones on their mind, and we're the biggest one in the market. So we have the luxury of being the heritage station, if you will, in the market. It's kind of like one of the other stations in Tampa, I guess you could say, WFLZ, which has been around for a long time. Kind of the heritage one that everybody knows about and everybody talks about. So that's one of the greatest things about Kiss FM.
Now, what's it like if you're ever maybe out to eat and you see one of your rivals? Do you guys just go up and shake each other's hands and say hi? Or have you ever had any bit of like a radio war there in Milwaukee?
I think all the radio wars stay on the air. I mean, I'm friends with other guys that work for other stations. We're all very nice. We're all blessed to be in this medium, because people are becoming less and less. So having a job in radio, you're super fortunate. So while we're all competing, we're all fortunate to have a job in the radio industry. So we get along, we hang out.
What are some shows that you listen to that maybe give you some ideas on what to bring to your show each morning? Do you listen to any other shows?
It's hard to because I want to listen to other morning shows, but I'm on in the morning, so I have to either deal with podcasting for something or listen to somebody stream like an Elvis Duran or Ryan Seacrest or The Kane Show or J.J. Kincaid, who just started the show in Denver. I think Mojo does a show out of Detroit that I like. John Jane Ritchell right out of Phoenix. There's a guy named Fitz who does a show out in Portland that's kind of cool. So if I can catch their stuff, mostly it's online. If I can grab their things on social media or they're on demand or their podcast, I can do that. But if I was straight up listening to a show, I'm busy doing my show, so it's difficult.
So what are some things that you bring to the air each and every morning that make you different than all those other shows?
We got some interesting bits that we do. I do a couple of characters on our show. We have a guy named Boris, the Love Hammer, who's a Russian character who comes on every day and does a little report. He's a guy from Sochi, Russia, but it's just me. Boris kind of talks like this, and he comes on and he tells a ridiculous joke. People kind of embrace stuff like that. We read Craigslist Misconnections, kind of one of our bits that we're known for. There's another guy named Bishop Bullwinkle. He has a song called Hell to the No. We do a bit around him with his Hell to the No song. Check it out on YouTube. You'll like it. We do another thing called Real Talk with Siri, where we have my iPhone Siri. We have people call in or people write in questions for Siri, life advice, and she's just totally rude and sarcastic back to people. So we bring different entertaining things on the air. So we play the same music, but the things in between the music that make you memorable to people.
Now, how much prep do you do through the day? Like, what time do you begin getting ready for the show the next day once you guys are off the air at 10?
We start planning our next day show at about 9:30 or so as we're wrapping up the current day show. We're planning the next day show. and I live the show all day. I mean, it's hard for me to put it down, being on Facebook or being on the internet, finding something to talk about, or if I'm writing a bit for Siri, or if I'm writing something for Misconnections, or if I'm thinking of a contest or a bit we want to do to give away something. I live my show, which is kind of draining, but I love it at the same time. So it drives my wife nuts sometimes. She's like, will you put down your phone? Will you stop thinking about your show?
What are some things that you try and do in your free time so it's not just about radio 24/7?
Try to catch up on TV in my free time when I put down the show. I also enjoy jumping out of airplanes as much as I can.
Now, where do you do that at?
I jumped in a town called East Troy, Wisconsin. Skydive Milwaukee is the name of the place. Got 198 skydives, so coming up on 200. But that's my relaxing place, my little peaceful place. Some people golf, some people go fishing or hunting, and I jump out of airplanes. Where my happy place is.
What was it about, like, skydiving that drew you in? Like, for me, I love to watch Adult Swim, and I love to work out in my free time. But what is it about skydiving that drew you in, Riggs?
Skydiving just started as a tandem jump. My wife and I went. It's just kind of a bucket list thing, and I got hooked on it. Wanted to go for myself, and I did an endorsement campaign with one of my radio stations where they traded out my license, so I was able to save money doing that, and I got my license essentially for free, and I just stuck with it. So I have my own stuff now, and it's just when you're falling through the sky, the only thing going through your head is not dying. So you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about your boss, you're not thinking about bills, you're not thinking about an argument you have with a friend, you're not thinking about anything like that. It's just you're in the moment, which is I love.
Now, you seem like a guy that has a ton of fun, and one of the things that you did recently, which I am pretty jealous of, Riggs, is for an AIDS walk event in Milwaukee. You got to hang out with Lance Bass, who I grew up listening to since I loved NSYNC when I was in first grade. So what is it like when you get to hang out with Lance Bass?
That was kind of a cool night. We had dinner with Lance Bass. I was a fan of NSYNC back in the day, so sitting down at a restaurant with Lance Bass right across from me for a whole evening was kind of surreal, but he was a down-to-earth guy. He's very nice. Him and his husband were both very cool, and they were gracious, and we had a lot of conversations from everything from him being a cosmonaut and wanting to train to be, go up into space to what they do in their free time and all the reality shows that they're on and the TV that they watch and how they grew up. And he's a Packers fan. I didn't know that he used to hang out with Brett Favre. Lance Bass used to roll into Packer games with Brett Favre in his truck, like as he was going to the game. You learn a lot of personal stuff about him, and it's humanizing for him because he's just a normal dude. He's not Lance Bass from NSYNC. He's just Lance, the guy that I was having dinner with. So it was good. It was for a great cause. And AIDS Walk, Wisconsin is one of the biggest ones in the country, and they raised almost $500,000 in that weekend. So it was very good.
Now, Lance seems like a really cool guy, but who are some famous people that you have met where you just go, why were you so rude? So who are some of the worst celebrities that you have ever met?
The worst celebrities I ever met?
Yeah.
Probably Tone Loc was kind of a jerk. Vanilla Ice is kind of lame, too. When I met him. Most of the people I meet are pretty cool. Meghan Trainor was kind of a stuck-up, prissy woman.
I could see that.
We had to wait for her to do all of her makeup, and it had to be done perfectly for an interview that was airing on a website. Just in this closed circuit camera, the only people seeing her were the people in the audience, and she was 15 or 20 minutes late because she had to do her makeup. She was kind of stuck up, but other than that, I've never really had a bad experience with somebody. And if I realize somebody's in a bad mood, I'm good at pulling them out of a bad mood and making them, in a better mood. As turning the negative, putting a positive spin on it.
What are some of the things that you bring on air? Let's say an interview is not going well, and you can sense it. What does Riggs bring to the show where he makes the interview turn around?
If somebody's being a jerk on the phone with me, I'll try to make a couple jokes, make light of the situation, and then I'll try to just call him out and say, "Is everything all right? Are you in a bad mood?" And if they're total jerks, I'll just end the interview and I won't air it. I mean, we did that with Miley Cyrus. We had an interview with Miley Cyrus. She was just awful. We could tell that she was either really on drugs or drunk or just not into the interview. And I got about halfway through it, and I just ended the interview. I just said, "All right, well, thanks for your time," and I hung up. I didn't want to proceed anymore. I didn't feel the need to. We never aired that interview because it was terrible. She was like reading scripted answers for things that didn't make sense, and she was talking in circles. So at that point, you just kind of cut your losses and just move on and say, "All right, well, thanks for calling. Have a nice day," and just move on. So I'm not going to waste my time with an interview that I'm not going to air.
What is your take on her? I'm not the biggest fan of her. I think she's very fake, and I think people seem to get way too mad at her for no reason because I think she's a act.
My take on Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
She's an ass, but she wins. I mean, you and I are talking about her right now, so at the end of the day, Miley Cyrus wins because people are talking about her, good or bad. If people are bringing her up, people are Googling her, people are searching her, people are seeking out her music, and positive or negative, people are talking about her, so I think she's winning, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about her.
Now, would you say you are the voice of reason on air when it comes to when you guys talk about famous people? Like, do you try to, like, speak the truth? Because a lot of shows treat these celebrities like real news, Riggs. And to me, more hosts need to, like, speak the truth and just say that everything that they do is just a big PR machine. So do you ever bring that approach to the air?
I do. I hate the Kardashian family.
Oh, God.
Allie on our show loves talking about them, and I make it very vocal that I hate them. Or I will just, I kind of jump on the wagon of the ones that people hate. Like, I think that Scott Disick is awesome. Everybody hates him, but I think he's great. And I think he's a champion, and I think he should be given a Nobel Prize. I'll say things like that on the air just to I try to be as facetious as I can, because it's stupid. And why do we glorify a family that has literally done nothing?
All they've done.
Why do we talk about somebody that's curing cancer, or somebody that's working to help cure diabetes, or somebody that's doing something positive for the world? And what has the Kardashian family ever done? Nothing. But everybody talks about them and worships them and puts them in magazines and talks about them like they're important, but they're not.
Dude,
they're making millions of dollars doing it.
They have never done anything. The only thing they have ever done is they were in a porno, which was a very bad porno, and they literally have no talent. Riggs, I don't know if you've seen the Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy, but they literally are from that movie. The fact that you can just be hot and have money and be the most famous celebrities without any talent, dude, it's pretty scary, man. The fact that they are worshipped like they are. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. Was that the movie with Luke Wilson?
Yeah, the one when
everyone wake up in the future.
Yeah.
And everyone's dumber? Yeah.
I just see this bad thing going down, man. Like, I just think we all are getting really dumber with social media, with how we report the news. Do you ever notice that as you do your radio show each and every day?
Sometimes, yeah. And you've got kids now growing up that don't know what books are. They're not reading books anymore. They're not going to hang out with their friends. They're on their cell phones. You got every kid in America's got their nose buried in an iPad. So it's who knows which way it's going to go.
How much different are things now than when you first got into radio, since now there's social media, there's the fake outrage where every day someone tries to get someone fired. So how much different is it now for you in 2015 being a morning show host?
Social media changed it all, dude. Everything is online. Your life is now an open book on the internet. Instead of just being somebody with a blog on a website, it's a social media page where people can see what you ate for dinner, where you're driving, who you're dating, who you broke up with. So with a click of a button, everybody can see everything. There's no more mystery to it. Everything is out there in the open. Twitter is just a cesspool of nonsensical streaming. I can't keep up with Twitter. I don't know how people do it. It's just a stream of consciousness. It's just something going back and forth. This person did this. And I don't know how people tweet during like football games and baseball games and TV shows. Why aren't you watching the show? Why aren't you watching the game? Nobody lives in the moment anymore. Everybody has to tweet about it so people can see what they thought about it.
Dude,
that was a bad call. I'm going to tweet about it. I'm going to put that on Twitter, and everybody's going to agree with me. Nobody's watching the game. Everybody's looking at my Twitter feed.
It's so true, man, because it's this second world where these people that have no lives, Riggs, they think they fit in, where they say things to us or to any famous person, but they would never say it to our face. It's this weird world where they are given this outlet to be douchebags, but they have no social skills, and they would never say it to our face. Do you know what I mean?
No, people get all confident and cocky, and they can say whatever they want because they're hiding behind the keyboard. So it's awful. That's where the hate has come from, too. Anybody that says something negative to me on Facebook wouldn't say it to my face.
Yeah. Like, I don't think anybody has ever come up to you. Maybe they have, but just goes on this long rant, Riggs, and goes, you suck, I hate your show, Allie sucks, the judge sucks, I hate Kiss FM. Of course not. They always have to hide behind a keyboard like the pussies that they are because they would never say it to our face. That's me saying that. It's ridiculous.
I agree. I'm with you, man.
So, what do you think the future of radio is? Because if you ask me, podcasts are getting bigger by the day, and I think it's what is helping bring back talk radio and entertaining radio. So, what is your take on the future of radio and podcasts?
The future of radio is great. I mean, I just read an article that radio eclipsed TV and a bigger audience. So, more people are listening to radio than are watching TV. The radio is fine. Radio is always going to be there. Maybe the amount of people working radio will be less and less, but there's always going to be a radio. You're always going to need local news. You're always going to need times of disaster when your power goes out. You can turn on a radio, and you still have backup transmitters and can get information to people in times of crisis. And like Katrina, when hurricanes come through, or natural disasters, or when there's shootings, or horrible events that happen, the radio is always there to let people know what's going on.
Now, has there ever been a time where there has been breaking news on air and you have to switch your show and talk about the breaking news? And if it has happened, how do you approach it as news is coming in real time?
We haven't had anything crazy happen as of yet on my show. We've had the positive thing, ones that we were talking on the air, and this when the Supreme Court made gay marriage illegal across the United States. We were just having a normal conversation, and we saw it on the TV, and we broke into it right then and there. And, and that kind of thing, you take it and run with it, but you got to make sure that your information is correct. You're getting it from the right source. You're not just reading a tweet that says, Lamar Odom died. There were 4 internet articles that said that, but none of them were true. So you got to make sure that you're checking your sources and you're reporting what's true. But as long as you have some credibility behind what you're saying, radio's going to be fine.
And now, I don't want to be very cliche right now, but what is some advice that you would have for me and other young adults that want to break into this hard business? What is the key to making it and grinding in this very tough business known as radio?
Somebody like you, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you're reaching out, you're grinding, you're doing a podcast here of your own podcast. Sounds like you won an award for it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. Keep getting your name out there and keep trudging forward. Somebody's going to notice you. Somebody's going to say, hey, this guy's cool. I'm going to put him on the air, or something's going to happen. Don't stop working. Don't be afraid to say no to things. Work your way to the top. That's the way I started. I started doing overnights and weekends and promotions and doing all the things that nobody else wanted to do, and eventually it turned into something good for me. Now I'm on a morning show in a decent-sized market in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which isn't the most luxurious thing you wouldn't sound, but Milwaukee's pretty awesome. I don't know if you've been there, though.
Dude, I love
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You would think Milwaukee is terrible. People make fun of it in TV and movies, but Milwaukee's awesome. Other than the 9 to 12-month winter that we have.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Dude, that is one thing I am not going to miss whatsoever about the Midwest, because I had to deal with it when I moved to Cleveland last winter, and I've dealt with it my whole life in Chicago. Dude, I don't know what you think about the winter and when it's negative 90 out, but I hate the winter so much, man. That's why I'm so happy I'm in Tampa. It's just, dude, I couldn't deal with it anymore, man. Like when you would have to go outside and warm up your car for 10 minutes just so that it's half warm, and you have to get up early to like shovel your driveway. Like, how do you approach the winter? Because I hate it so much.
Why are you talking to me about winter? I don't want to talk about winter. Especially from a guy that lives in Tampa. You're just rubbing it in right now. I hate you.
I'm trying not to. I'm just ranting.
No, winter's a way of life. We deal with it. It's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's tolerable. I have a garage, luckily, with a house, so I don't have to scrape off my car in the morning. I just have to worry about shoveling my way out. And it's fine. We deal with it.
And now, before I let you go, Riggs, where can people find your show online and on the radio?
1037kissfm.com. And there's an app that we have for our station also. So if you go into the App Store or the Google Play Store and search for 103.7 Kiss FM, we have our own app. And you can listen live from there. There's a little on-demand section where you can hear everything that we do, all the bits that we do, and everything that we talk about that isn't time-sensitive, like our Hollywood dirt stories or news stories. We don't put that up, but everything else that we talk about, all the bits and everything that we do is all up there, and you can listen to it at your leisure with the app or on the website, 1037kissfm.com.
Well, man, you've helped me out so much in the last year. You made me some badass drops. You've given me some advice. So I am honored that you would even call into Happy Hour. So thanks, Riggs. I appreciate it, my man.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Send me a copy of it so I can listen to it. I like to listen to myself. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Riggs, and have a good rest of the day, my man.
You too, dude.
All right, bye.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppysworld.com.